Everyone, I want to talk to you today about the SRAM motor system, and also I want to cover a few other things that I've noticed that's going on at the moment in the e-bike market. SRAM in 2023, I think around September time, they introduced their new motor, which was based on the BROSE system, which is also engineered by Specialized back in the day. That motor originally had a lot of problems, but they obviously fixed them. They changed the belt in them, gave everyone excellent warranties, and all those teething issues, let's say, were ironed out. And you ended up with a pretty reliable, smooth, quiet, powerful 90 Newton meter motor. So SRAM, obviously, when they started off on that, they wanted to launch with some bike brands, and 4 brands hit the market with that motor: Transition, Propane, Gas, and Nuke Proof. So I've tested a couple of those brands' bikes. So I've tested the Propane and I've tested the Nuke Proof. Unfortunately, a couple of months afterwards, Nuke Proof went bust because they're part of the whole chain reaction cycle conglomerate. So SRAM lost one of their brands that was supporting their motor system. Propane and Gas are quite interesting. Propane is an online only brand with some shop affiliates now, but basically they're very competitive prices, good quality bikes, full range of bikes. It's a good bike. It's not a full enduro bike. It's sort of somewhere in between an all mountain and an enduro bike, somewhere up there. But it's a good bike. I liked it. I had fun on it. That motor was very interesting on that bike. Used the auto shift, full integration. Now Transition, who also made a bike with that motor, I've never touched. I've never even seen one, to be honest. So, you know, they have a small footprint here in Europe. I expect it to be quite an interesting bike, probably quite aggressive. Gas, obviously, now they have a good quality bike, but I've discovered a few things about that bike. First of all, it's more of an open mold design. Yes, it has the mold from SRAM in the lower part of the frame, but the rest of the frame design, for what information I've been told, which I can obviously be confirmed as wrong, is open mold design. Gas went shopping for a branded frame and then put their own mold in it for the SRAM motor connecting point. Then that bike was put on the market. So we're almost getting a year and a half out from when they initially launched their motor. And I'm expecting to see quite a new, powerful motor come into the market very soon. It should be at least 110 Newton meters and have all the advantages of their system, which is really good integration. It should have some auto shifting, and hopefully it's got their high speed sensor resolution. So their speed sensor was a 6-pole magnet, which gave extra resolution, which gave extra feedback and a smoother ride in theory. That's obviously been copied or done in a very similar way by DJI with their multiple disc, which has, I think it's got 15 or 20, something like that, slots on the back which allow a more precise measurement of speed and wheel rotation. But obviously that connects me to who developed this system. Well, SRAM say it's their motor. BROSE were the originators of that system, but they developed it in cahoots with Specialized. So that motor really is more of a Specialized motor, let's say, than a SRAM motor. But SRAM did say that it was a development motor originally and they took it on, and that they are working on their own system. So I'm very interested to see what they come out with, because BROSE had some 100 Newton meter motors on display at Italian Bike Festival a couple of years ago that I went to. I haven't seen any of those motors actually hit the market yet, so I'm very interested to see what's coming from that. And if they're working with Specialized on their new motor system, which is coming out on the Generation 4 bike, which, for what I've understood from the internet, that all the journalists have been testing it in Madeira, and I think the bike's going to be launched in around April time. And that's got 110 Newton meters, 120 to 120 Newton meters of peak torque. I think it's like a slightly lower peak power compared to, say, the DJI system, but it has a modular battery system, better speed sensor sensitivity. It's either an equalizer or will beat the whole DJI Amflow bike concept. Apart from the price, probably. It's very likely that the price of the Specialized bike is going to be very expensive, especially if you want all the features and all of the power. The modularity point that they have got going on, I think you're going to be able to have 3 batteries on it, a 400, a 600 and 800, and you can mix and match and have the bike built for the weight that you want as you see fit. And I think the bike will probably come in at around 22 kilos. So a lot of that information is obviously not being confirmed, but you know, it is pretty much 99% sure. So I'll be very interested to see how close it will be to the SRAM system and the BROSE system. Who will be making that motor? There's no details on that as far as I can understand. Taking that theme about SRAM, and you know, when are they coming out with their motor, their new system, which will hopefully be 110 Newton meters and beat everyone, or put another level of integration, I suppose, create more competition, let's say. It'll be very interesting to see how other brands adopt the SRAM system, because 4 have done it, 2 have failed, there's only 2 left. What will happen next? Finally, I think there's another thing which I need to cover briefly, which probably could open a whole new thread of discussion. The bike industry has been paying for reviews very clearly with different YouTubers. Once the money has changed hands, that test is no longer a review. It is probably more of an ad, a promo, or an information video. But there's absolutely no way you can call a video which is marked or paid for by a brand, that influencer will definitely be influenced in communicating for the benefit of the brand. They have been paid for. This kind of behavior in the tech industry is basically not tolerated and called out. And I really think, based on my own experience, where I have never been paid for a review, that I would really hope that the bike industry, as part of, especially the media part, should sort itself out, because there's not a lot of clarity, there's not a lot of following, shall we say, good practice for media organizations going on, especially in the bike media. Probably misrepresenting what is real and that, at the end of the day, is not good for consumers. I have noticed a bit of improvement from the magazine side of the industry, but I do think the YouTuber side, the pure YouTuber side, needs massive improvement, because there's a lot of people who believe they're doing reviews when they're not, they're being paid for. A good example of where you could sort of, who says this and explains this much better than me, would be to take a look at Linus from Linus Tech Tips, who was interviewed by Colin and Samir recently, and he discusses this whole sort of, he's obviously one of the top 2 or 3 tech, and he goes into this in a little bit more detail, and I'll put a link in the description for that video, because he communicates about it really well. And I definitely think, for best practice, for the benefit of the consumer, we should be very careful about what we say and how we say it, especially when we are being paid for or brand supported content is being done. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next video. Bye.